So everyone wants a perfect sell signal. But I've been in the game long enough to know that that doesn't really exist, unfortunately. Now in 2021, we had a thing called the lengthening cycle. Everyone was talking about it. It was amazing, but it didn't really play out. I was taking profit at that point, and some people looked at me like I grew another head. And in 2018, I got burned massively, so I was cautious in 2021, but it worked out pretty well. Now in 2025, everyone's talking about October. October this, October that. Length of cycles, this, that, and the other. But is this going to burn us? I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. You can't time bottoms, and you certainly can't time tops. And if you're waiting for that magical moment or that magical number, well, you might just miss it. So, listen up. If you like videos like this, slap a like. So, let's talk about the past, not to stroke anyone's ego, but going back in time, this is kind of what I was doing. And I would love to say that I was amazing at this, and I wasn't. It just happened. And also, I had quite a pretty bad few months in that period where my personal life was in the shit and I just sold anyways. So let's talk about some obvious things here. I was taking profit on Bitcoin. I was taking profit on some of my altcoins, but I didn't sell enough. And that was the top and bottom of it. But at the time, the market at that point was euphoric. It was pretty mental. And that's time where you need to step back and just step out thinking this is mental. And the thing that people forget, and this is quite psychological, is about when you enter is where you basically earn the right to make profit, if that makes sense. So if you buy early enough, you have that situation where, for example, with me, I've been in Bitcoin since $600, $700. I've still got Bitcoin from a long time ago, just chilling. I've been in altcoins for a while at that point. I made a lot of money on a lot of altcoins, which did very, very, very well. But that's very different to this cycle, obviously. So the lesson is you don't need to sell the top. You just need to know where your goals are and where you meet those goals. Because if you hit a certain number, you're like, this is a bit mental, I need to step out. And I don't believe in the hold forever mentality. I don't, because if you're an investor, you need to make money along the way at some point, whether it's income, whether it is through genuine capital appreciation and gains, or if you just like to just buy things for the, for the shit, really. And going back in time in terms of YouTube videos and content that I've done, over a year ago now, this was, when did I can't even remember. The 4th of March 2024, I talked about certain situations where I will be taking profit in the cycle. And I analyzed, and you'll see it on the screen in a minute, the length of the previous kind of bullish. It's very, very loose. But we are way ahead of that sort of situation in terms of timing right now, which makes you wonder, okay. And it is all based on the total market, which isn't the perfect bit of analysis in any shape or imagination. You'll see this here. But I have moved it over to October. We could be looking at 700 plus days potentially, which is mental. So yeah, if we're looking at certain situations, previous bull markets, you got quite a long one here, shorter one here. It's very, very interesting. But at the end of the day, this is still looking relatively good. This could go even higher, which would be amazing, obviously. But at the end of the day, we've got to look and think, well, where do we actually stop the roundabout and get off? But let's talk about some other elements here. Why this cycle might break the 4-year pattern, right? So we are, in my opinion, we're still following the 4-year pattern, weirdly, even though it doesn't sound like it or look like it. But we are in that bullish phase. Now, the 4-year pattern, the 4-year cycle, is halving, run up, crash to crypto Bible, right? We are still in the run up technically on Bitcoin. And this cycle is very, very interesting because I feel that it's already breaking rules. One, it's on the screen. It's quite an obvious rule. It's the ETFs. That volume is massive. And institutions aren't really, what's the word? Hanging around. They're not. They're doing a lot of things and they're trading on balance sheets now with companies, which I'm going to showcase here. Go away, advert. You get the point. So there's 219 entities that have got 17.29% of Bitcoin currently. That's quite a lot. There's countries, there's public companies, private companies, BT mining companies, DeFi, and obviously ETFs. Yeah, this wasn't a thing 4, 5 years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, was it? No, it wasn't. So this sort of thing makes you think, well, is Bitcoin going to get bigger bear markets? Probably not. No. Is it going to have bigger runs? Maybe. I don't know. That's the ultimate question. And we've got to look at the situation here where are we going to not get those 50, 60, 78% corrections anymore? Probably not. Which makes you wonder, well, what about altcoins? Because altcoins, let's be honest here, have got two situations here. This is the Bitcoin dominance, And this is the biggest dominance we've ever had. So even though the time is right to buy altcoins technically because dominance is high, it's an interesting proposition where what if we do a situation of a B of where we run even higher and then we break into some sort of really interesting territory where altcoins no longer lag and we get a bit of a run. Ethereum is doing much better than what it was, but it's not perfect. It's nowhere near what it should be, in my opinion, certainly for this type of the cycle. But as I've said before in previous videos, 2017 was a very, very quick, very quick cycle. It was like 30 plus days, if that, in terms of the altcoins going mental. So if the Bitcoin dominance hasn't rolled over then, this isn't 2021. It's not even 2017. It's something totally different, which is where we have that problem. And this is why we need to stop, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about it, setting dates like October 2025, saying it's the top, because that's where it becomes very, very dangerous. Because what we're seeing now is tweets like this. And even in my Patreon, yesterday talked about it. Because even though I said, well, it's looking likely we're going to be in and around that ballpark area, using the term October 2025 is where it gets a bit isolated because historically, we all know that Q4 of any cycle is tend to be pretty good. And even these charts here, it is 37-month average from the cycle lows is that Q4 area, October area for this year, which is quite nice. And of course it can be the potential top. And of course it could be euphoric areas if we break up. Keyword, if we break up. And then we start talking about certain buzzwords like lengthening cycles, super cycles, whatever. And then people start getting drawn to it and then they won't take profit ever, or they come in rather late and they get squashed by the herd. And that's where the euphoric situation happens. And this is where companies, institutions, whatever, get liquidated because the market just drops out because everyone just rotated into something else. And that's where we get a problem. So yeah, let's talk about more of this October vibe. So a really good account that I follow on X is Brett. And this is all, that's quite an old tweet actually, this one, talking about certain situations about bottoming, halving, and kind of where it is. And this is from December 2024. And even on this screen here, we're still looking in and around that ballpark of the end of this year, which is good. But that's based on the data of time. But data and time's great, but it doesn't always marry up perfectly. Obviously, yes, markets rhyme and stuff like that in the past, and we could still be following this sort of situation very, very closely for Bitcoin anyways. But altcoins haven't done the same thing as what we would have expected in my viewpoint. So yeah, the October narrative is pretty strong here too, and this is from an old tweet. And from a more newer tweet using the global M2, which is fine with an 84 offset for the last 3 cycles, we are still looking in and around that October ballpark, which is absolutely fine. I don't mind data like this. But we are getting to a point where is it too obvious? Shall we be doing something else? So yeah, in my viewpoint, we need to look at certain metrics and we're going to come into the psychology of it because I think that's more important realistically versus time in it. Because at the end of the day, if we do squirt to the upside and we go towards 200K, I think a lot more people will be taking profit more than they would let on, in my viewpoint. Because even though Q4 traditionally is very, very bullish, it's one of the most bullish months on record. You can see that very, very clearly, along with Q1. Euphoric levels could allow it to go even further, especially with Bitcoin. In my viewpoint, Bitcoin's key here. But will that allow dominance to go even higher? Ooh, will it allow a rotation? Will people be attached to their Bitcoin? That's where the bottom line is. And I think for a lot of people, if you're in altcoins, you're going to be a little bit worried if you do not see a rotation. And that would be the worst cycle ever, in my viewpoint. Well, maybe not you get the idea. I hold Bitcoin's fine. But if you're holding predominantly altcoins and that rotation does not happen, it's going to be very, very different. So in terms of like the psychological elements here, profit taking, here's the truth and it's quite brutal. I'm sorry, but it isn't marked by a calendar. It's marked on literally your feelings. If you've bought something and you were like, oh, bloody hell. Or if you, as we all say, if you're taking screenshots and sending it to your friends, take something off the table because that's where it's going a bit crazy. And this is the thing, we've never really, in my viewpoint, unless you've been just solidly in Bitcoin, there's been no easy mode in this entire cycle at all, realistically, right? And everyone starts thinking you're a genius when you get green candles and you've been in for a while. And then all your friends who like literally mocked you and gone, you're still in that crypto thing, it's doing shit, isn't it? Will all come back asking you questions. And it's the same across the board. And I'm starting to see it alongside with my Patreon numbers growing up. I'm seeing it with my traffic on YouTube, the engagement in the comments and what people are saying. People are slowly starting to return. which is always key for why this environment is perfect for creating that psychological zone of like profit taking and getting destroyed. Literally, there's literally two ways to go about it, and it's one way is really bad, one way is really good. And it's when you start asking the questions, is it time to take scale profit? Because profit taking, in my viewpoint, is all psychological. It's not mathematical. For everyone who looks at balances on their portfolio, they don't look at it and go, oh, I'm going to take some money off the table here. I can pay off my mortgage here. I can do this, that, and the other here. I'm going to buy this one. They don't. They all think it can go higher. Can't it? It will go higher. Won't it? Yes, it will. And then you start looking at other people's biases. You start looking on YouTube. What do these guys think? What's happening? And then you start getting to that. Oh, it becomes horrible. So yeah, you'll never, ever, ever time it perfectly. You will always be looking and doubting yourself. You'd be like, am I selling too early? Am I selling too late? And that's where it becomes a very, very different thing. And as I say, your portfolio could be very much life changing, but if you hold on for a little bit longer, ooh, are you going to get trapped? So yeah, don't just go on date. Don't just go off the timing. Go off what you feel. Go off what you've made. Go off what you can literally walk away with, walking away from the table. Because October could be amazing. We could be in a euphoric zone. November could be even more. But how long do you keep rotating that wheel to go again? You're going to struggle eventually and you're going to get absolutely burned because we've already seen it. This cycle, we've got a lot of cabbage hands, a lot of lettuce fingers, so to speak. Leverage is high and people get destroyed. Late longs get destroyed, late shorts get destroyed very, very quickly. By the way, if not yet done so, even though we're talking euphoria, there will be point, and this is a really obvious little bit of alpha here. Some exchanges don't take on, right? They don't. So if it goes a bit mental, they'll go, oh, I'm closed. Blowfin's open to the UK. It's all fully open. And there will be points in time where if it is euphoric, exchanges will not take you, which is mad. But yeah, 20% off on fees. It's a really, really good one, this one. Amazing offer. You won't get that anywhere else. So yeah, when will I exit? I don't think it'll be October. I don't think it'll be December. I think it'll depend on what the price is, genuinely. If the price is going mental, I will tell you. And that's the bottom line. I will showcase my YouTube. I'll showcase everything I can to showcase that retail going berserk. It's euphoric and you need to be very, very, very mindful. And you need to ride the lightning as far as you can and know when to get off. Because when I exit in parts, it'll be when dominance is shifting. It's when Ethereum is showing 100% mental strength. It's when my YouTube's giving me like 100% extra traffic overnight. Literally, like going from, I'm saying 5,000 average view to like 25,000 views every single day without fail. That is when we are looking at certain situations. And that's when you'll exit when the retail frenzy, so to speak, returns. Because it will be mental. It will be. And you will not miss it. If you do miss it, you're silly. So yeah, it's not a date in, it's a feeling. It's when you're waiting for the herd to return. And yeah, you might miss that chance again if you're not looking for it.